I grew up going to church. My family were Christians, so they brought me along to Sunday school every Sunday, and it was a lot of fun. I learnt a lot of stories from the Bible, Adam and Eve, Noah, Moses, David and Goliath, and loads of stories about Jesus. I heard about Jesus so much, sang lots of songs and to Jesus and everything. But I guess there reached a point where inevitably I asked, is it true though? And if it is true, what does it even matter to me? How does it affect anything? And so as part of this, I was looking around the church and I was seeing lots of really lovely people in the church, really nice people. But I just thought there must be more to being a Christian than just being nice, because you get nice people everywhere. And I remember praying to God. I remember praying, either you're real and you show me that there's more to being a Christian than just this stuff, or I'm done. So I made the decision to follow Jesus when I was 14. I went to a youth camp, and I remember the preacher talking about just how much God loves us, and that his love is shown through the person of Jesus. He talked about a special name that Jesus was given when he was born, Emmanuel, which means God with us. And I remember thinking, I guess for the first time, wow, this Jesus was in fact God. So often I guess I thought of God as this big, distant person, being out there somewhere, who may or may not know what was going on, and I guess the lights just went on, and it occurred to me he'd actually been to earth. He'd been here as a person in this person of Jesus. And I guess the way he talked about why Jesus came suddenly made sense. That Jesus' death wasn't some sad, tragic end to essentially a good man, but that it was part of God's purpose, God's plan to save people, that God saved people through Jesus. When I was younger, there was this film that I loved, and I watched it over and over again. And it was about an inventor who finds this racing car. It used to be great, but it's got all rusty and damaged, and it's basically junk now, fit for the scrap heap. But he sees it and brings it home, and he gets loads of other bits and pieces and locks himself away for like days and weeks. And you just hear this sound of banging and scraping and welding. And then after a while, he flings open the doors, and out comes this incredible, amazing new car, which isn't just as nice as it was before. It's better. It looks shinier, it looks cleaner, and it can not just drive, but it can float on the water, and it can fly. And as I sat listening to the preacher, I realised that this is what Jesus did for me. I was far from perfect, and every time I messed up, when I got angry with people or acted selfishly or said or did hurtful things, my soul was clocking up rust. I was destined for the scrap heap. I realised that because of Jesus' death, I had been picked up and cleaned up, and I was destined for something bigger and better. I had a new identity, I had a new purpose, and I just needed to respond to that. And so that's when I decided to follow Jesus. Over the years, what Jesus means to me has changed as I've grown up and I've come to see more of the world. The world can be this incredible and beautiful place, but you don't have to live in it very long before you realise there's a lot of sadness that goes with it. People get sick, people are lonely, famines and wars, innocent children suffering, lives cut short by terrible accidents. And I guess so many people look at what's wrong with the world and say, how can God care? Where is God in the midst of all of this? When I think about everything which is unjust and deeply unfair, and I myself wonder, where is God in this? I think of Jesus, and I remember all the stories of Jesus from the Bible. Because Jesus was God, you kind of get a feel for what God must think and care about when you look at Jesus. And actually in the Bible, he is with the poor, and he's with the people who are alone, and he's with the sick, and he's with the broken, and he's with the people who have no freedom. And so you see a God who doesn't avoid suffering, but actually comes and gets stuck into it. The word Christian began as a nickname. It was what the earliest followers of Jesus back in the 1st century were called, and it literally means little Christ. Followers of Jesus weren't just people who met together to sing songs. Their main business was to carry on doing what Jesus did. He was their number one role model. So if he loved people that nobody else talked to, so did they. If he healed the sick, so did they. If they gave food to the hungry, so did they. If he told people that God loved them, so did they. I don't think I've met anyone that doesn't have some kind of ambition, whether it's to get a great job or travel the world or become famous. But for me, my life ambition really is just to become more like Jesus, to follow his teaching and his example better. Because for me, really who he is and what he says is the only hope there is for the world. What he taught was so challenging, to stop living for yourself, to get rid of your pride and your greed, but to think about other people first, to learn to forgive rather than hold grudges and get revenge, to give your money away to the poor, to just live a life of service. And I just think if more people followed in the path that Jesus went, then there'd be a lot less people asking whether or not God cares, because they'd see how much he cares by what his people were doing. We would just live in a completely different world to the one that we do now.